Hey everyone, it's Kane, and today we're going to be using the Solve It strategy. So this strategy is going to help us with our word problems and being able to break them down to be able to understand them a little better. I'm going to have Miranda helping me. She's going to be my student today. What I have is it's a mnemonic that comes with it. It's called the RPV HECC, or RPVHECC. It stands for read, paraphrase, visualize, hypothesize, estimate, compute, and check. So I'm going to go over this with my student real quick. You can pause it if you want to see what I have written. So we're going to read for understanding. We're going to paraphrase our word problem in our own words. We're going to visualize. We're going to draw a diagram or a picture. Okay, so that's our first part. Then we're going to hypothesize. We're going to make a plan on how we're going to solve our problem. We're going to estimate. We're going to predict the answer. We're going to compute. We're going to do the arithmetics, adding, subtracting, dividing, whatever we need to do. Then we're going to check to make sure everything is right. So we're going to check our answers. And so our research-based practice and special education book right here by Cook and Tankscrewy. It had a really good thing in it that really outlined ways that you can check with your students and have them do the self-checking. So it's all of them have a say, ask, check portion to it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to model this and go over with our word problem. I have it already all written out for me and done. But what I'm going to work on for you guys during the modeling and for my student is a blank one. So I'm going to show how I would do that. So the first thing on ours is read for understanding. And my questions, when I say ask, check, I'm going to say those to myself if I was a student. So I'm going to read the problem. It costs an initial fixed cost of $6 plus an additional $2.50 per mile to rent an Uber. What is the total cost for a 10-mile trip? So this is a state assessment problem that was in the book that I would modify for my student. So I read that, so now I'm going to say and ask myself, do I understand it? So I think what I'm trying to do is find the total cost of the trip. So check for understanding. My next thing I'm going to do is paraphrase. Okay, you're going to paraphrase. So it costs initial fixed cost. So it cost me $6. Let me underline this initial fixed. So that means that it's going to stay the same of $6, and then an additional $2.50 per mile. So I'm going to circle that. What is the total cost? So I know that it's going to cost $2.50 per mile plus $6 at the end. Okay, I think that's what I got to do. I got to find total cost through this. So I'm going to paraphrase, and I underline the things that I needed. You can kind of see some of them underlined. If I had a highlighter, I could highlight the different things, just like I did in this one. You can specify exactly how you want to break it down for your student, depending on their specific need. Okay? And so during this time, my student would be copying along. It's hard to see. There's the highlighter marks on there with what I'm working on. Our next thing we're going to do is visualize or draw. So I'm going to say, ask, and check. So I'm going to say to myself, I need to make a drawing. Is that possible? Or I need to make a diagram. Is that possible? So let's look at my thing. It costs $6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a ticket. This is, to me, a ticket. It costs $6 to get my ride. It costs $2.50 per mile. So I'm going to draw a little road. To me, that's a mile. You see how I drew a road? I know that every mile is going to cost me $2.50. I'm going to draw a really long mile, and I'm going to write 10 miles above it. So I'm doing this so that I can kind of visualize that it's a lot longer, and that 1 mile is going to be $2.50, and the other one's going to be 10. See how I'm doing that? Okay. So, once I have this, I'm going to say 10 miles. Oh, I drew my picture. So, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. So I just got the visualize part done. I'm going to check to make sure that makes sense. I have my 10 miles, I have a mile, I have my cost. I need to hypothesize. What am I going to do next? Do you have yours written down? So you're going to do 1 mile is $2.50. Okay? And now we're going to make a hypothesis. How am I going to figure out how to get 10 miles? So I can either do addition or I can do multiplication. So what do I have to do next? So to get from 1 mile to 10 miles, I think I'm going to do multiplication. That's going to be easiest for me. Okay, so that's the hypothesize. I'm kind of figuring out what I want to do next. Okay, then I'm going to estimate. So we're on our E right here. I'm going to predict the answer. I think the answer is, I know that if I do 10 times something, the decimal moves over. I think it's going to be $25 for 10 miles. I'm going to have a visualization there. So $25 for 10 miles. So you're doing that, you have 10 miles, and then you do 10 miles, you estimate is going to be about, we know that for 10 there, it's going to estimate over, it's going to be about $25. Okay, compute, do the arithmetics. Okay, that's our next part. Okay, compute. So what I need to do is I need to ask myself, am I doing the right operations? Is multiplication the right thing? Okay, do you think multiplication would be better, or do you think it would be easier to do addition? It would be multiplication, I think, because it'd be easier than having to do $2.50 plus $2.50, and those decimals can get kind of tough. So what I'm going to do is 2.50 times 10. I'm going to actually do my arithmetics now. Okay, I got to actually check my answer with that. Okay, that's the compute. So I have to say, how does my estimation and my answer actually pan out? So you can do the math yourself. I'll do mine too. I know that 0 goes here, so 0. 0 times 5 is 0. Every decimal there. 0 times 2 is 0. Put an imaginary 0 down. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 5 is 5, and 1 times 2 is 2. Carry down that 0. $25. Okay, and you got 25 as well. You can see you go through the math, and we go a little slower with our students as their needs are. Miranda, my guest, already knows how to do a lot of this, but you would break it down for that student. Our last thing that we would do is we check our answers. So we need to check to make sure it's right. So I tell myself, okay, does $25 seem like that's the total answer? So what is the total cost for 10 miles? If I wrote 25 down, does that seem right? Let me go look back. It says an initial cost of $6 plus additional. Oh, I'm forgetting to add the $6 in, the additional. So I'm going to do 25 plus 6. 25 plus 6 is, I carry my 1, and I am at $31. Okay? So I have 31 written here. It's kind of sloppy. But I need to check, is everything right? This is saying, what is the total cost? The total cost. I just have a 31 written down there. I think what I'm missing is a dollar sign. Because otherwise it could be what? It could be 31 maybe bagels, 31 Barbies. It could be, I have to put the dollar sign there so we know it's 31. Okay? So that was kind of a quick breakdown. What we would do with our students and what I'm going to do with Miranda is I would go step by step. So in this example, Miranda's on the visualize portion. So we would have already gone through the read, and we would do the questions, and we'd practice this over and over until the students get the read part done, and they get mastery on it or get proficient. Then we'd do the paraphrasing, and we'd work over and over on the paraphrasing section, asking the questions. And so it could be doing multiple word problems where we're only working on paraphrasing. We're not getting the whole thing done, we're focusing on the skill of paraphrasing. So for this case, what I'm going to focus on with Miranda is visualize. And we're going to work on this huge, lofty problem here, this real-life problem. What I'm going to do with Miranda is I'm going to go through the read and the paraphrase together, and she's going to focus on the visualize portion. So we'll see how this part goes. So our question, Miranda, I'll read it to you, and we can just kind of do it as a group. So the real-life problem, and again, I'll show you up here so that you can see it. You can pause the video. Your group of 3 is planning on grabbing sodas and seeing a band at your local soda establishment. It costs $7 per soda and $13 to see the band. Each person in the group will get 3 sodas. How much money does each person need to bring? What is the total cost for the group? So what we're going to do is she has a highlighter right here. is we are going to first do our reading. Let's see, does this make sense? So we got a group of 3. What are the group of 3 doing?
They're going to get soda and see a band.
Getting soda and seeing a band. And do we know how much the soda or the band costs?
So it's $7 per soda and then $13 to see the band.
And so Miranda has this sheet too, so she can follow along. She would just have this part if we were focusing on the reading. She'd have all 3 of these if we were focusing on the visualize like we are. So then what she can do is she could take it and check off the read part and say, I did the reading. I was able to understand it. Okay? It sounds like we're able to ask and understand what our problem is. Next, we're going to paraphrase. Okay, so how would we paraphrase this?
So we are trying to figure out
Important
how
information.
much money each person needs.
And is there a way we can highlight and do some of that so we know how many people we have?
So we have 3 people.
And we're going to highlight that.
$7 per soda, $13 to see the band, and then each person is going to get 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to figure out how much.
Right, and do we know if everyone's going to see the band or not? It says up here, each person grabbing soda and seeing a band. So we know everyone's going to see the band.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to paraphrase and kind of figure out some of this. Now we're going to visualize. So can you draw some pictures below and figure out how you would do this first part? So let's ask ourselves a spare sheet. Does the picture fit our problem? So we're going to come up, we're going to make real life things. We're probably going to make sodas and a band. How do you think we would make that? I'll show you what I did up here on my example. I could have this along with her so that she would be able to fill this out, and I can be doing it alongside so she can see some of my examples in a different format. So right now Miranda is making the sodas, and how much are each soda?
$7.
So she's putting in what down there?
7.
A 7, and then she's labeling it.
Yeah.
And then so what else do we need?
So $13 for the band.
And then we have $13 for the band. And so we have to figure out, let's highlight here, we have to figure out how much money does each person need to bring.
Mm-hmm.
So our first one, number 1, we're going to write per person. Okay, if we're doing it per person, how much is your total going to be?
So each person is getting 3 drinks, so each person will have spent $21 on just drinks.
Yep, $21 on 3 sodas.
Yep. And then 21 plus 13 for the band. So $34 per person.
Per person, right? And so other thing says, what is the total cost? So can we draw a visual? So how would we make a group?
So we can draw 3 people.
Can we draw 3 people?
And each person needs to bring $34.
Yep, so how would we do that? We could do multiplication or addition, right? So we would do 34 plus 34 plus 34, or 34 times 3 is?
102.
102. Okay, so I can show everyone our visualization. So that is the visualizing portion. And so since we're working on visualizing, this is where we would stop and we'd do another problem and we'd continue to work through. But since Miranda is a part of this and we would be able to move on, we would then go on to the hypothesizing, estimating, and compute, where we would check to see is her addition and multiplication correct. So she would then see if all this works out and matches up to her writing up top here. So this is just kind of a quick outline and an example of the solve it strategy that we're using. Woo, the solve it strategy. And the mnemonic RPV HEC. So which is the read, paraphrase, visualize, hypothesize, estimate, compute, and check. So it seems to be a really good strategy for really breaking down and understanding your word problems. You think that the strategy helped you, Miranda?
Definitely.
Great. So again, this is Jake. It was really good working with you guys. Thanks.